And we're back. Hello, everybody. Here we are for live stream number 18, maybe? Number 18, is that what we're on here? We're looking at, what are we here? September 23rd, 2023. Hey, everybody. My name is Jonathan. That has not changed. And I'm here to answer some questions. That has not changed. So I see a question right away, although it's a vocal question from Harmonica and Guitar Progress. And I will get to your question in a moment, but I want to say hello to you folks. I see Stephen. Hey, Stephen. Charlie Beagle. Hello. Bruce Isaac from Sydney, Australia. Hey, Bruce. I'm a fan of Australia because who isn't? I'm currently watching an Australian TV show called Fisk, F-I-S-K, with a terrific actress who wrote it and directed it named Kitty. Oh, what's her last name? She's great. The show is great. And I thought, oh, next time I talk to someone from Australia, I'm going to bring up that TV show. So Bruce, I hope you know what I'm talking about. And the show is great. So John, hello. Johnny Midnight, hello. Beginner Guitar Lessons is our moderator. Hey, beginner guitar lessons. Welcome. We got a rainy day here in Connecticut. So what better time than to talk about the guitar, play some guitar, think about the guitar, and ask some questions. Flanagan, my wife reminds me, Kitty Flanagan is the name of the actress from the Australian TV show called Fisk, which is available on Amazon, I believe. Anyways, okay, so let's get right into the questions here. First question happens to be a vocal question, and I'm going to address it because it's something that's crossed my mind before. Okay, Harmonica and Guitar Progress. Here comes your question. The question is, do singers shake their head to get a vibrato? I don't know, but I know I have done that a little bit just to see, what happens, and it kind of works. So there you go. It's possible. Netflix. Music Fan 1004 reminds me that is a Netflix TV program from Australia. So Harmonica and Guitar Progress, I encourage you to talk to someone who is a trained vocalist. I know there's more to getting a vocal vibrato than shaking your head, but is there? No, I'm sure there is. So my friends, while you are assembling your questions and getting your questions ready for me, I want to tell you a few things that I have in my agenda today. I want to tell you the story of when Jack Johnson met Jimmy Buffett. Kind of a cute little charming story. It's a very short story, but I like it, and it's entertaining, and there might even be something for us to learn from in that story of when Jack Johnson met Jimmy Buffett. So stick around for that. Other things I'm interested in sharing with you, an ear training app. I started using an ear training app, but there's a lot of them out there. I want to share with you what I have started using. Here's something that you didn't see coming. I want to share with you news of a former student's first NFL touchdown. That's right. A former student of mine just got his first NFL touchdown. I know it raises a lot of questions in your mind. I will share this information with you. And at some point in the live stream today, I'm going to officially say, ladies and gentlemen, now is the time to ask me a dumb question. Don't start yet. Your questions are always great. But at some point, I'm going to say, this is the moment, starting right now, to ask me a dumb question. And I have a dumb question of my own that I will ask and try to answer, just to give you an idea of how dumb can a question be. I've got some dumb questions. Don't worry. Dealing with injuries. I am not a doctor, but I have some information I want to share with you, or some strategies I want to share with you. Should you be in a situation where you can't physically play the guitar, don't worry, you can still make musical progress. So these are some things that I want to share with you. And let's start off with a very short topic on my agenda, but I love it so much. And it's known as the Slam-Strum Lick. The Slam-Strum Lick. Now, I saw this phrase used, I believe it was Doc Watson, the terrific bluegrass guitar player, all around fantastic guitar player, Doc Watson. I think he referred to the Slam-Strum Lick, and I thought, I have no idea what he's talking about, but I have a really good guess. But now I love the name Slam-Strum Lick so much, I thought I would bring it up with you guys here in the live stream. So the Slam-Strum Lick, I'm going to take a wild guess that what Doc Watson was referring to, I'm going to use an E major chord here. At the heart of it is what I call a boom chick, where you hit a single heavy string, in this case the 6th string on the E major chord, and then you respond with a somewhat lighter strum across 3 or 4 treble strings. Slam strum, get it? Slam strum, slam. And of course you can, modify that and get fancier and fancier. But I now regret all those years I've been calling it the boom chick strum, because that's okay, but slam strum sounds a million times better. Slam strum. So until I learn differently, I'm going to assume that's what Doc Watson was talking about when he referred to something that he called the Slam-Strum Lick. One more thing before I check out the live chat for some questions. I also want to share with you what I personally am practicing, because I think you get a kick out of it. I want to be a great guitar player, just like you guys want to be a great guitar player. And so I want to show you what I'm doing about that and what resources I'm turning to for such a thing. Okay, so I'm looking for your questions. Don't forget, everybody, should you have questions for me, don't forget to put some question marks in advance. So let's go to Australia. Bruce from Australia. Hey, Bruce. And he's asking, how do you encourage a young kid to persevere with guitar, say an 8-year-old? I'm so glad you mentioned that, because one more thing on my agenda, which I did not mention, was how to teach guitar to your kids. And thanks for the setup. Perfect. Okay, so the question is, how do you encourage a young kid to persevere with the guitar? And I like that question, because what you're not saying is, how do you get an 8-year-old to get good at chords? Or how do you get an 8-year-old, to do anything, right? What you said instead was, how do you encourage them to persevere? And short answer, teach them the Minecraft theme song. There you go. No, I don't even know what the Minecraft theme song is. I just know that anything to do with Minecraft, it's a good idea when you're working with an 8-year-old. So somewhere out there in the universe on YouTube, someone has taught us all how to play Minecraft music on the guitar. So that's a good answer to your question, but let's dig a little deeper than that. When you're working with kids, success is everything. And as the adult in the room, you get to define what success is, or you really have a big hand in shaping what success is. And let me tell you, you can put the bar down as low as you want to, So when you say persevere with the guitar, Bruce, I'm guessing that your son has played the guitar a little bit already. He physically has held one and has made some noise on it. So here are some of my immediate thoughts. I've taught kids as young as 4 for sure. I'm trying to think if I ever had a 3-year-old. I think I had a 3-year-old, but Mom and I agreed that it was not, we weren't going to call it a real lesson. But I've had a lot of 4- and 5-year-old students. So everything is a success. Everything, to get them to take their thumb, and this goes for 8-year-olds as well. To get a clear note on the guitar, even if they're not using a pick. That's success. Here's another thought. Tab. 8-year-olds know numbers. So to write down a song in tab is the only way to go, which gets to my number one point. Your expectations for a young kid, totally different than your expectations for an adult. So reading music, forget it. We're going to work with tab. Playing with a pick, maybe if they want to. If they don't want to play with a pick, it's fine. Don't worry about it. The number one goal is to make them want to pick it up again the next day. That's the number one goal. Number one, and it's totally achievable. The number one goal is not, like I said, teaching them how to read music, mandating they have to play with a pick. Nope, that's not the number one goal. Teaching them how to play your favorite song, not the number one goal. Teaching them to play any song you think they should play, Happy Birthday, Yankee Doodle, that's not the number one goal, although you got to start somewhere. But my point is, I've operated for decades with the goal of wanting the student to come back for their next lesson, wanting the student to go home and physically, play the guitar, right? What does it take? What does it take? So getting them comfortable, now your 8-year-old, I'm sure, is like ready to rock and roll, has a guitar that's the, more or less the right size. If you have a young person in your life and the guitar is an adult size guitar and the student's not comfortable, guess what? They're never going to get comfortable. So you're not going to win with that one. This is assuming that the child is a little bit on the fence about this whole endeavor, obviously if the kid is crazy about the guitar, then yeah, but we wouldn't be having this conversation if that was the case. So getting back to some more direct advice, Bruce, finding a song that an 8-year-old will connect with. And you might have to dig deep, but then again, you can't go wrong with Happy Birthday, right? We all have, hopefully we all have positive memories of birthdays. And what's more connected with birthdays than the song Happy Birthday? So getting the right song. I have a student right now who is just crazy about Harry Potter. And he can play a nice, simple version, one string at a time, of the Harry Potter theme song. He can do it by heart. And it's not because I told him to memorize it. He connected with that song. Months had gone by, and he really hadn't connected with anything. Harry Potter theme song, pow, he's good to go. And he's about 8 years old, give or take. Okay, second thing, let them do whatever they want. Like I said, if they want to play with their thumb, if they want to play with their pointer finger, that's fine. How about left hand? I will always encourage any student to use multiple fingers. But if an 8-year-old is playing, say, the Harry Potter theme song, but they're maybe they're doing the whole thing with their pointer finger, let them do that a little bit. Let them do that. And as they make progress, then you can say, hey, don't forget about using another finger. Those are some of my immediate thoughts on getting them to persevere. I wish I could say, if you play for them, they'll be so inspired, that'll do the trick. I can't guarantee that. You show them a video of another 8-year-old doing amazing things on the guitar. Could that work? Maybe. I keep coming back to the material. If you can find a song they want to play so bad, and nowadays it's something usually from a video game of some kind or something they've connected with. A student of mine yesterday is crazy about the Grimace theme song, Grimace from McDonald's. If some of you have no idea what I'm talking about, you're lucky. If some of you vaguely know what I'm talking about, yeah, Grimace. There's some Grimace theme song. This one student just loves the whole idea of it, is so taken by this Grimace theme song. For those of you who celebrate Christmas music can be really simplified. Jingle Bells is a great one because it just is not that complicated a song. Again, we're talking about playing the melody one note at a time, one string at a time, which is why I put things like that in the back of these two books. I know I'm always mentioning my books, but that's because I have a wide audience in mind. So in the back of both of these books, I'm holding up the Guitar Week one and the Guitar Month one. In each book, there's about 20 melodies of just really simple stuff, folky tunes, Happy Birthday, Yankee Doodle, things like that. Okay, so both of those books are available as electronic books at my website, www.song-bike.com. I'll put that in the chat at some point. Okay, so I hope those are some ideas. Bruce, thank you for that question. And again, hello to Australia from Connecticut, USA. Harmonica and Guitar Progress has another question, asking me, how do I remember everything I learn? Oh, I wish I did. But what I do remember is stuff that I've used in a song or for a song. For me, I that's what I keep coming back to. That's why I picked up the guitar in the first place. So whether it's like a weird chord, not a weird chord, but a chord that's not the most common chord, or maybe a right hand finger picking pattern, a certain riff. For me, I remember things in the context of songs. That's the easiest way for me to remember them. In terms of things that aren't in songs necessarily. A ton of repetition, lots and lots of repetition. You know, I'm on an arpeggio kick. You know, there's an E major arpeggio. I just did it so many times that I memorized it. Here's one, aside from literally writing stuff down on paper, which I've done as well. I just have my collection. I'll give you an example. The great Telecaster player named Red Volkart. I'm sure a lot of you know about Red Volkart. I'm going to put his name in the chat. Red Volkart. Okay. I a while back, I watched a couple of his YouTube videos about awesome Telecaster licks, and I just started writing them down. I thought, okay, I'm not going to remember all these, but if I write them down, I will practice them, and then they'll get in my head. And that worked, although right now they're starting to slip out of my head too. I had another thought. Repetition, come back to me. A great way to remember stuff is connect it with something else. Connect the thing you're learning with something else you already know how to do. So I'll give you an example, and I'll put this in the chat and in the timestamp, the description of this video when I get around to timestamping this video. That E major, the E major arpeggio that I just played. Okay, and don't worry, I'll put that in the description. In my mind, that's directly related to the shape or the formation of a C major chord, good old-fashioned C major chord. When I do that arpeggio, I can see what looks like a C major chord embedded in there, even though I'm up at the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th frets. I can see the image of a C major chord, or what would be a C major chord. So in my mind, this is not just an arpeggio pattern. It's like, quote, quote, the one that looks like a C chord. Honestly, that's how I think of it. So anytime you can connect a new riff, a new lick, and anything with something you already have, memorized or internalized, that goes a long way. Last thought on the subject: if you want to memorize something, make a song out of it. Don't necessarily wait around looking for a song that uses that thing, although I've done that plenty, and it can be rewarding, can also be frustrating. If you take something you want to remember, make a song out of it, you're going to remember it. You are a lot better anyways. Okay. Looking at your comments here, folks. Scott Rhodes, hello. Greg Brown, hello. David asks the question, how do you tune the guitar using a 432 hertz tuning fork? Well, what are you doing with a fork like that, man? Bring it back to the fork store. What you're referring to, just so everyone knows, is something that is not calibrated to the universal standard of 440 hertz. At some point in human history, the world decided that the note A is literally a sound that vibrates at 440 vibrations per second. And they had some vote in the UN, and everyone agreed, okay, yep, we'll take it. That doesn't mean that everything you ever see on the marketplace is tuned that way. And so, for example, David has a tuning fork that is not tuning not that way. So David, presumably it's the note A, but it's a note A that is just, vibrating at 400. I mean, you could call it an out of tune A, except it being very specific. It's slightly lower. Yeah, I mean, you're kind of stuck. You can use it to tune the guitar, what I refer to as internal tuning. Like, let's say it produces the note A, but slightly flat. Okay, use it to tune your A string to that note, right? And then do the internal tuning, right? You compare one string at the 5th fret. Right now I'm playing the 5th A string at the 5th fret, and that's what the open D string should sound like, right? That internal tuning. And you could tune up your guitar great that way. It's just that you'd be slightly flat compared to your neighbor who comes over to play with you, you know, or if you go to play along with a song, you'd be slightly out of tune with that song. Yeah, that's all I got for you. But there's no reason why you can't use it to get your guitar tuned up, you know. But beyond that, nah, you know, David, when in doubt, just download an app onto your phone and use that tuning app. I use Guitar Tuna, Tuna. I'll put that in the chat. The Guitar Tuna app. I think it's pretty much probably the most popular free app for tuning out there. There may be other popular ones. I'm sure there are, but you know. So, okay, looking for some more questions here. Stephen Mannion says, what makes an arpeggio? Excellent question. An arpeggio is the notes of a chord picked out individually instead of strummed, you know, or if we're playing piano, instead of taking all your fingers and playing the chord, bang, all those notes at the same time, you play them one at a time. Most of us recognize the arpeggio sound associated with good old House of the Rising Sun. Okay, that A minor chord that leads into all the other chords, right? When Bob Dylan first recorded that, well, it's an old song, but when Bob Dylan himself recorded that, he did not play it that way. He strummed it. Okay, I don't know if he did it in the same key as the Animals, but he strummed it. He sang it that way. The Animals heard Bob Dylan's version, and being creative human beings, they took his kind of folky dung 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 kind of strumming, and they made it a little more articulate. And the rest is history. You know, that's that sound of the Animals, what they did with the song, that became the definitive version, right? So it's kind of interesting. You can hear two different approaches. Little bit of trivia, and I hope I'm right. I have no way to prove this. When the Animals went to record House of the Rising Sun, the version that we've all heard, right, the famous version, they had already played a gig that night. They show up at the recording studio at midnight or something, and they were going to record House of the Rising Sun and probably some other tunes too. And they set up their gear, went right into House of the Rising Sun and nailed it in the first take. So the legend has it that when you hear House of the Rising Sun by the Animals, you're hearing their first take at midnight or whatever, after already playing a whole night's gig. And they just nailed it, man. That's, you know, I don't know, when I hear that, when I add that information to what my ears are telling me when I listen to the song, I think that's so cool, man. That's awesome. So I hope it's a true story. Let's go with it. Why not? Why not? So, Stephen, an arpeggio, what I illustrated there with House of the Rising Sun, my fretting hand is just clamping down the A minor, and my right hand is plucking individual strings. That is an arpeggio. But I could also play an A minor arpeggio. I'm going to change to A major for a second. I could play an A major arpeggio. By playing the same three notes, the three notes of an A minor chord, or A, C, and E, okay? But now I'm playing A, C, and E, well, A, C sharp and E, because I'm doing A major. I'm playing them with that sound, with that type of approach. For those of you who can see my left hand, you can see my fingers are hopping around. That looks like a spider, right? Hopping around. As opposed to when I did House of the Rising Sun, where I clamped down on my A minor, my left hand stayed static. I call that static. And my right hand picked out the strings. That's fine. That's the easiest way to do an arpeggio. I love the workout that my left hand gets when I arpeggiate a chord this way. You know, it's almost like doing a scale. In fact, it is a scale with a few notes missing, you know. So in that sense, arpeggios are awesome exercise. If you just clamp down on a chord and pluck the strings one at a time, like House of the Rising Sun, that's cool. It's not much exercise for your fretting hand. But hey, maybe that's just how the song goes, you know. So beginner guitar lessons is bring up minor pentatonic extensions. Yeah, taking your minor pentatonic scale and then moving it up the neck. Yeah, we can talk about that. Okay, so I don't want to keep you guys in suspense. I mentioned that I had a former student got his first NFL touchdown. No joke. Remember my student who was on stage with John Mellencamp? No joke, right? That's one of my current students. So a million years ago, the local Catholic school in my neighborhood, my neighborhood of my business, lost a music teacher, and we're without a music teacher. And someone said to me, "Hey, go over to the Catholic school. They need a music teacher." And this was during the recession, 2008, 2009. And I thought, yeah, I could use a little extra paycheck. And so I got a gig teaching music, general music, at the local Catholic school. And I was there for maybe about 2 school years. And one of my students also happened to be a neighbor of mine in the town I was living at the time. And that was 15 years ago. And fast forward, he is now number 86, playing tight end for the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. So he wasn't one of my guitar students like some of you are. He was one of my general music students when I taught at this Catholic school. So now Luke Schoolmaker has a multi-year contract playing with the Dallas Cowboys, number 86, and got his first touchdown last game. And I just found that incredibly moving. I don't watch much football. I don't follow football. But man, I never knew anyone who even was on a roster, let alone, playing and scoring in the NFL. So there you go. So my wife and I have been following the Dallas Cowboys a lot more closely than we ever imagined we might have, because Luke Schoolmaker is on the team. So there you go. So those of you who are Dallas Cowboy fans, or if and when the Dallas Cowboys play your favorite team, know that I will probably be watching. And it's not that I'm rooting against your favorite team. It's just that I would love to see someone I know get another touchdown. Tight end, number 86, Dallas Cowboys. Okay. Oh, Stephen, was that his first catch as well? Okay, I didn't know that. That makes sense. He got a touchdown in the preseason for sure. And it was a very officially it was a 1 yard pass, right? It was a short pass right into the end zone. But you know what, man? We don't need any drama. A touchdown's a touchdown, and but that was his first catch. That's awesome. Did not know that. Imagine to catch one football in one NFL game, and it's a touchdown. But the season is just starting, right? So you got it. So that's my NFL connection here. Okay, so beginner guitar. I want to address what you're talking about. Remind me what you and I talked about in our lesson about minor pentatonic extensions. I think that was the ring finger sliding up the neck thing, which I'm pretty sure that's what we're talking about. Just confirm that with me in the chat if that was the whole ring sliding thing, if that's what we're talking about. Okay, let me tell you while we're here, we're half an hour into the show already. Holy cow. When Jimmy Buffett passed away just a little while ago, we all heard a lot of interesting Jimmy Buffett stories. And one that I thought was pretty charming was a story about Jack Johnson, who I like Jack Johnson's style. He seems like an interesting guy. And when I hear Jack Johnson's song, it stays in my head for months, which I mean that as a compliment. And I love this story. So Jack Johnson apparently would include a Jimmy Buffett song, in some of his concerts. That was not, uncommon for Jack Johnson to cover Jimmy Buffett. And Jimmy Buffett showed up at a Jack Johnson concert backstage, said hello, whatever. And Jack Johnson said, "Hey, my gosh, why don't you come on stage when I do your song? Great. Maybe we should review it beforehand." And apparently it's a song that Jack Johnson had learned years ago, had been playing multiple times, as part of his set list, or something he was very comfortable with. Great. And Jimmy Buffett, backstage, they review, okay, just, let's just run through this, make sure we're on the same page. And Jack Johnson found out the hard way. He had been playing the song wrong. What does that mean? I don't know. realistically, it's probably a chord, a certain chord that sounded close enough to another chord. But Jimmy Buffett said, actually, that's not how I wrote the song, essentially saying, hey man, you've been playing my song wrong all these years. So before I get to the end of the story, number one, it can happen. I've done it. I've got lyrics wrong. I've sung lyrics wrong for years, only to find out, that's not how the song was written. Oops, I've sung lyrics wrong one time and been immediately corrected by an audience member. Oops, sorry. And they were right, oh well. So it can happen to the best of us, when you learn a song, you kind of develop a relationship with that song, and it may sound really good to your ear, like that's it, that's how the song goes. And you might be right, you probably are right. But poor Jack Johnson finding out, a little bit before showtime, oops, But Jimmy Buffett, and this is where I think the story is kind of charming. Jimmy Buffett said, that's okay, man, let's just do it your way. I love that. Right? So why not, man? Why not? Jimmy Buffett, he adapted, he probably saw like, oh, I wrote A minor, Jack Johnson was playing F, for an example. I don't know, but I'm just for an example of two chords that are close, but not really, right? An A minor chord is made up of A, C, and E, like I mentioned before. F major chord made up of A, C, and F. I could see someone in the heat of the moment, playing one of those instead of the other, and just, it's so close, it sounds good, and you move on with your life. So I love that Jimmy Buffett was like, that's okay, man. Let's just go out tonight and play it your way. I can do that. I love that. Very cool. So that's my my Jack Johnson and Jimmy Buffett story for the evening. Okay. Beginner guitar. So I'm going to jump in on this minor pentatonic. I think of this as a ring sliding exercise. You've all heard of pentatonic scales. I'm going to keep this real short, but pentatonic scales are the most popular scales for people playing solos or cool little introductions or something. They're the most popular scale to use in a lot of rock, country, bluesy, bluegrass kind of stuff. A blues scale ultimately is a pentatonic scale with one more note added. So the pentatonic scale can work its way into a lot of popular music. So the more you know about pentatonic scales, the better. The more ways you can play pentatonic scales up and down the neck, the better. And even if you don't have your heart set on being an amazing, flashy lead guitar player, this is such a cool sound, and it makes your left hand ring finger work so much. It's a cool exercise no matter what. Okay, so instead of learning one pentatonic scale and playing it in one position, like the classic one a lot of people learn, starting on the fat string 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 8, 5, 8. Okay, I call that the headquarters pattern. In this case, I happen to put it at 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, nothing wrong with that. That's great. For a lot of us, that's the first pentatonic scale we learn. I'll put that in the description of this video too. Instead of that, where your left hand is static, it's staying in one position, this one is satisfying in another way. I think of it as, thanks to the ring finger sliding up and down the neck, you're kind of slashing diagonally across the guitar from the heavy fat E string, slashing diagonally over to the skinny first string. It's just a neat way to get a lot of motion in your playing and to go from low to high in a very satisfying way. Okay, so let's just jump right in. I'm going to teach you this in the key of A minor. So you're about to play an A minor pentatonic scale. And it's very important, extremely important, that you start with your ring finger, 6th string, 5th fret. It's got to be your ring finger, 6th string, 5th fret. That's the note A. Next note, index finger, got to be your index finger, 5th string, 3rd fret. Now, see how my ring finger is just hovering right by the 5th string, 5th fret? I'm going to pluck that note and immediately slide 2 frets up to the 7th fret on the 5th string. So far I have. Okay, now I just moved my hand into a whole new position, right? I was down here playing 5s and 3s, and thanks to this slide, I'm up into a new position. Okay, now to finish this off, 5 on the 4th string with my index, and 7 on the 4th string with my ring. So now I have, and that alone is just a nice, satisfying kind of riff. I started on 1A down here, and then ended on an A 1 octave higher. Am I going to stop there? No, because I can just duplicate what I just did with a little skip at the end, which I'll talk about in a second. By the way, notice how I've been on odd numbers this whole time. That's significant, at least in my mind. It helps me to keep that in mind so I can keep track of what I'm up to. All odd numbers so far. 5, 3, 5, sliding up to 7, 5, 7, all odd numbers, okay? You'll see the significance in a minute. So now I'm going to duplicate the pattern. I'm on 7 on the 4th string of my ring finger, 5 on the 3rd string, index, 7 on the 3rd string, ring finger, and I'm going to slide up to 9. Again, all odd numbers. 7, 5, 7 up to 9. And now here's that little skip I mentioned. We've got to change over to even numbers. I'm sorry. This has to do with the relationship between the 3rd G string and the 2nd B string. This happens all the time, just when you're getting it. Like, crap, I got to do even numbers. So where we left off, 9 on the 3rd string with the ring finger. And now I'm going to do a quick little jump, 8 on the 2nd string with my index, 10 on the 2nd string with my ring. I've now made it to the next A, the next higher octave A, 8, 10 on the 2nd string. Even numbers. I wasn't odd numbers, even numbers. Okay? And if you're so inclined, you don't have to stop on that A. You can begin the pattern again. Again, ring finger, 10th fret, 2nd string, index 8 on the 1st string, ring 10 on the 1st string, and even you can slide up to 12. 12 on the 1st string. We've run out of strings now, but if we had more strings, we could continue the pattern onto other strings. Okay, so what have we got here? Hold on. If you don't get a sense of closure when you end up on that 12 on the skinny 1st string, you need 15 and then 17 to give you that sense of closure. 15 and 17 on the 1st string. So okay, number 1, it's just fun. Number 2, if you suffer from a wobbly ring finger, is your ring finger wobbly? Like mine sure was. I remember my ring finger did not want to do any stuff like this. It just didn't feel confident. It couldn't like stiffen up, you know. This is how you begin to give your ring finger some serious responsibility. You know. By the way, this brings up a topic that I'm going to digress for 1 second. Lots of times you can do something on the guitar and it just doesn't feel right. It's not working for you. And yet that is why you're doing it. Yeah, you find those things. You think, oh, my finger doesn't do that. Yeah, and now it's time for that finger to do that. So you can't be discouraged. You can't say, oh, my ring finger can't slide like that. It's too wimpy. It won't stay firmly where I want it to be. Yeah, that's why you do this stuff. So keep that in mind as you pursue, especially sort of well, really anything, but especially if you're working on a very specific exercise or scale or something where you can really pay attention to each individual finger. But this applies to strumming chords or anything. Bottom line is, if something doesn't feel right on day 1, you know, within the first 5 minutes, first 5 seconds, that doesn't mean you're allowed to bail on it and say, no, that doesn't work for me. Chances are it's a skill that you have to get good at. And the whole point is to find out what feels weird and then work on that thing. Okay, so reversing this A minor pentatonic thing is so satisfying. Oh, this ties in with something that we talked about a moment ago. How do you remember all sorts of stuff? I made a cool little guitar solo. I'm going to slow that down. I made a cool little guitar solo that was based on the descending version of this. And I just did it so many times that I wasn't scared of it anymore. At first, like, oh, anytime someone says, take that cool thing you did and now do it backwards, play the scale descending or something. I don't know about you, but I do 10 times worse when I'm, quote, doing something backwards, back down. Okay, so what did I do just there? Okay, 10 with my ring finger on the second string. That's my A. 8 on the second string with my index. Now check this out. My ring finger is touching the third string. It happens to be at the 10th fret, but that's not significant. What's significant is how quickly I'm going to slide down to 7 on the third string. You're going to slide so fast, I hope, that it doesn't matter where you start the slide, because you're going to confidently slide down to 7 anyways. Okay? By the way, if you want to be sure that anytime you slide anything, that you arrive at where you want to arrive, don't watch your finger as you slide. Watch the destination. So as I do this, I'm looking at the 7th fret, and your ring finger will end up there every time if you're looking at the 7th fret. If you're watching your ring finger hoping that you'll get to the 7th fret, it just doesn't work. Never worked for me. So anytime you're sliding anything, eyes on the destination, and you'll be fine. And now I'm going to play that same riff 1 octave lower. Watch this. By the way, my index is on 5 on the 3rd string. Ring finger 7 on the 4th string. Index 7 on 5 on the 4th string. Here comes that slide. Now my ring finger is waiting at 7 on the 5th string. It's going to slide down to 5 on the 5th string. Index 3 on the 5th string. And here we are back at home. That nice feeling of resolution. Back on the A where we started. Now, to me, that just sounds like a cool riff. It doesn't sound like I'm practicing a scale or I'm practicing anything. That last little riff is, instead of just stopping on that 5th fret of the 6th string, I went 3rd fret 6th string, open 6th string, back to 5 on the 6th string. I just thought that was a cool melodic way to finish off the riff. Okay, so that is what I believe what beginner guitar was referring to when he talked about minor pentatonic scale extensions. So yeah, another way of doing it. Hey, Stephen Mannion, thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate that. And that is my cue to mention to you guys, if you're having a good time and you enjoy these live streams that I do, you can support the cause with that cute little $. Oh, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have big news for you guys. You can support the live stream by making a super chat donation, and it's that $sign at the bottom of the chat. Okay, now bear with me, folks. I'm going to talk, but I'm going to look like I'm not paying attention to you guys, but I really am. I finally got my paperwork together, and I have a Sweetwater link to share with you. Okay, nobody buy anything on Sweetwater for 2 seconds, okay? Don't If you are planning on it, don't do it. Give me 2 seconds. Okay, I am putting a Sweetwater link in the chat. There we go. Enter. Okay, so here's the deal, my friends. I am just, I don't know what to say. I'm just famous enough. That's not, I don't mean that the way it sounds. I have just enough of a presence on the internet, thanks to you guys, that Sweetwater and I have become affiliates. So what I just put in the chat is an affiliate link with Sweetwater. If you click on that link, it'll bring you to Sweetwater, to the website. We all know Sweetwater, right? For those of you who don't, Sweetwater is like Amazon, but it's for musicians, number one. It's all musical stuff. And number two, they have fantastic customer service. So it's an online retailer with all sorts of stuff that goes way beyond guitar stuff. And they just do it right, you know. I'm always going to encourage you guys to shop at your local mom and pop shops first, but sometimes it just makes sense to do stuff online, and Sweetwater is the way to go. Now, if you go to Sweetwater using that link that I just put in the chat, and you buy something, Sweetwater sends me a little tiny percentage of their profit, you know, and that goes to support the live stream and the channel, all that kind of stuff. So get used to hearing me say this every once in a while, okay? Because many of us shop at Sweetwater on a regular basis. So if you click on that link that I just put in the chat, then you still get to the same, nothing changes on your end. But when you get around to making a purchase, you don't have to even make the purchase right away. I believe that it sort of lasts for a couple of weeks. I'll get back to you about that. But I think if you make a purchase from Sweetwater in the next 14 days, after clicking that link, then me as an affiliate of Sweetwater, they send me a small percentage of their profit, which is terrific, man. I appreciate that so much. So long story short, if you are planning on buying even a single pick, a capo, strings, a brand new guitar, whatever you're shopping for, and if you're going to go to Sweetwater anyways, then I would appreciate it if you do it through my affiliate link. And it doesn't change anything on your end. You don't pay a higher price. Doesn't change anything. And you don't even have to make the purchase tonight, you know. And so you're going to see in most of my videos now, and most of the descriptions of stuff I post, that little link is going to be there, you know. I've heard good things about how they operate like this, and how they cut the check and the check clears, and that's about all I ask, you know. Okay. Harmonica and Guitar Progress is asking a good question. How big do you have to be an affiliate? I wonder. Yeah, good question. I don't know. Yeah, don't know, but it's a fair question. Yeah, I just don't know. Okay, so I'm scrolling looking for your questions. Thanks for listening to me talking about minor pentatonic extensions, and I'm looking for your questions, my friends. We are coming up almost coming up on the first hour of our show, and okay, harmonic and guitar progress. I see your question. I'm going to get to that in a second, but I like the question very much. Okay, the question is, what do you think guitar playing will look like in the distant future? I do think about that quite a bit. I've been teaching for 31 years, and I don't have a plan B. So I do foresee myself teaching the guitar, maybe not another full 3 decades, but yeah, for the foreseeable future. So are people still going to be interested in guitar lessons to the extent that I can make a living doing this kind of stuff, right? And that's, believe me, I think about that all the time. I'm pretty optimistic for a couple of reasons. And when I say optimistic, I'm optimistic that human beings will be playing guitars that basically look like, you and I think of guitars looking, in the distant future. And here's why. I have a bunch of reasons. On a practical level, as long as human beings want to singing will always need musical support. And the guitar is the smallest, most portable acoustic means of that support. I mean, could you do it on a tiny little keyboard powered by batteries? You could, but the guitar has a warmth and a naturalness to it. The guitar is about as loud as an average human voice, or as loud as it needs to be to support the average human voice. So as long as people are singing, they're going to need chords. The two ways of getting chords are piano and guitar, basically. Those are certainly the two chordal instruments that provide the biggest, warmest sound. You can sing with a ukulele, it's just that it's a pretty small sound, not to everyone's taste. You can sing with a mandolin, you can sing with a banjo, accordion. Culturally, it seems pretty clear that the guitar and the piano are we've all decided as a culture, those are the most, those are the accompanying sounds that we like the most. I mean, we voted with our ears, we voted with our paychecks. So as long as people are going to sing, they're going to need chords. If they're not, could you get chords from a computer program? Yeah, I mean, that's not even new technology. So, could you carry, imagine the phone. I shouldn't talk too much because, but either it already exists or I'm writing a dystopian future. I'm going to ruin the guitar here. Oh, well, here goes. Imagine on your phone, you have the background music for 1 million songs, more than 1 million, right? But and the ability to program to program it to say, okay, I want a C chord for 4 beats and I want an A minor for 4 beats, and then you just sit there and you hold your phone out and you sing with your phone, or you stream your phone through a nice big speaker. It doesn't have to be a big speaker, but something the size of a lunchbox, right? And the technology is such that lunchbox. Well, you guys know those little amps, the Spark amps from Positive Grid, or Yamaha has the THR, great sound in a small package, right? So there's a singer, they've got their little amplifier, they've got their phone, and they just carry that around. They just sing with that. I mean, that anything's possible. I'm not, but could that culturally become the norm? It could. I don't want to say, oh, but no one would ever stop playing the guitar. Well, it could happen. So that's a practical level. As long as people are going to sing, there's going to be guitars. Second thing is, clearly musicians have an inclination clearly humans have an inclination to make music. There's probably a better word than inclination, a biological need to make music, at a minimum to enjoy music. But many of us, we can't just enjoy it. We've got to make it happen, right? Us crazy people. It's not enough. We can't just listen to it like normal people. We have to make it happen. As long as there's this, well, I don't mean to say as long as, apparently there's always going to be this human, pleasure, this human enjoyment, this human drive to create musical sounds. I don't foresee the guitar changing profoundly. Even the accordion, whose day in popular music has come and gone, the accordion is still here. I keep wanting to go down to Philadelphia to visit Liberty Bellows accordion shop in Philadelphia. Get it, Liberty Bellows, or even the Button Box, which is much closer to me in Massachusetts. The Button Box in Northampton or thereabouts, Western Mass. So the accordion hasn't gone away. It's just that it's not the instrument of choice yet. So, yeah, for something to replace the guitar, well, a smallish, when I say small, I mean portable, not like a piano, a portable instrument that can play chords, at a warm, with a warm tone that is the right volume to sing along with. The guitar can't be beat. Can it fall out of fashion? Yeah, it can fall out of fashion the way the accordion fell out of fashion, so to speak. But no, so long answer to your very good question. No, the guitar is not going anywhere. Now that's different than Are we as consumers buying as many guitars as the guitar industry was hoping we'd buy? I have no idea. That's above my pay grade, and that strikes me as their problem, not my problem. But that's different than saying human beings are done with the guitar. I think we got guitars around for a long time. Those of you who have beautiful multi-$1,000 instruments, make sure you get those in your will so the world knows, what you intended, where you want that instrument to go when your day comes. Okay. What do I see here? I'm scrolling up here. Don't forget, folks, put question marks before your question when you have something to say. Max Josephson. Hey, Max. Max asks, do I write songs? Yeah, I write songs. And every once in a while, I write a song that, either I like the whole song or I like one part of it so much that I have to admit, like, every once in a while, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to admit to yourself that every once in a while, whether it's playing a chord or just writing a song, whatever, every once I have to admit I don't suck, because I have that same voice in my head a lot of the time. It's like, ooh, ouch, yuck, And every once in a while, and I hope this happens to you too. Sometimes you have to, pinch yourself and admit, like, okay, that one thing didn't suck. So thanks for asking, Max. I do write songs, and I can't wait to share them with you guys. Seriously, it's not like I'm going to take a whole hour and do a concert, but I got a lot on my plate right now, and I'm my own worst critic, like a lot of us are. But I can't wait to play some stuff for you guys, and whatever form that takes. But yeah, I love writing songs. Is why I even picked up the guitar in the first place. Learning other people's songs and writing my own. Thanks for the question, Max, because as you guys know, in between our Saturday live streams, my little brain is buzzing away. And someone asked a great question about, what guitar players got me, excited about playing the guitar when I was a younger guy, first started playing the guitar. And I realized something that I wanted to bring up today for my own benefit. I'm so sorry, but I need to put this little coda at the end of my answer from the last time. I was so motivated to play songs as a young guy, picking up the guitar for the first time, specifically the chords and the strumming, that's all. I was so motivated to do that. I was not directly inspired by specific guitar players who did cool things on the guitar, the way a lot of people are. You're inspired by Eddie Van Halen, Jimi Hendrix, anyone who does awesome stuff up and down the neck of the guitar, mind-blowing, cool, whatever. And that just wasn't me. It took me a little while to process and think of it. It wasn't me. I figured someone else was perfectly qualified to do that stuff. I want to play the song, sing the song, make the song. I call it bring the song to life. I wanted to make that happen. And then anyone else could join in and do all sorts of fancy stuff, or write the song. And even better, man, if I could write a song and have people, some of the happiest moments of my life, some of my happiest musical moments are in the recording studio, where I'm with, friends, and I've written the song and they're ready to go, and the red light goes on and we're recording, and like my song, they bring my song to life, and they do all their cool stuff, and oh man, that's an amazing thing. So so that is my little coda to a perfectly good question last time. So I was aware of plenty of guitar players as a young guy. I started when I was 16, but I wasn't trying to learn cool riffs and cool stuff like that. I just wanted to know, what are the chords and how do you strum them? And because I didn't take lessons and I was self-taught, there are a lot of things that were just complete mysteries to me. For instance, if a song didn't have obvious chords, well, then I was stuck. If it had some sort of shuffle pattern or other rhythm guitar pattern that wasn't an A minor or an E minor, I couldn't imagine what the person was doing. I also remember really struggling with even being able to hear a chord change. Maybe I could figure out the first chord of the song, I thought, how do I know when they changed the second chord? Couldn't, how would you possibly know, you know? Which is, yeah, that, I mean, we've all been there, right? So, okay. So thanks for letting me follow up on that thing. Harmonica and guitar progress, you're very welcome. Dan, I like your comment. I know what you're talking about, Dan. Strictly rhythm. He doesn't want to make it cry and moan. Now, since you brought it up, we're quoting here from, well, who knows? Who knows what song Dan is quoting from? I'm not going to say the song because it's more fun watching you guys. The quote is, strictly rhythm. He doesn't want to make it cry and moan. What lyric is that? What song is that lyric from? Dan, I remember that song being on the radio as a youngish guy. 1978 in the ballpark, 1979. I don't think it was 1980. And that song freaked me out. The singer's voice, there you go. A to Z me, those are the right lyrics. Those are the right lyrics. What are you talking about? Uh-oh. Don't get mad, A to Z me, but I think those are the right lyrics. I certainly recognize the lyrics. Sultans of Swing by Dire Straits. His voice, I thought his voice sounded so weird, you know, and I didn't understand a cry or sing, maybe. Okay, all right, maybe. All right. Okay, I'm not going to argue that could be right. Yeah. Yeah, that song I liked it, but I remember thinking that guy's voice sounded weird, and I couldn't quite figure out some of the words. Yeah, I liked it. So, Mark Knopfler, Dire Straits, Sultans of Swing. I saw Mark Knopfler in concert. Oh, quick story. I was late getting to the venue, but I wasn't worried because there's an opening act. And I like opening acts. I mean, I like the opportunity to especially if it's someone I don't know about. I think it's great. You get an extra band for your money. And if you don't like it, okay, it's fine. So I get to the venue and I'm a good, 45 minutes late or something. Not my style. And I'm thinking, well, okay, so I missed the opener, and there's no one milling around. There's no one outside the venue. I thought, oh, that's a bad sign. And on the door of the venue, someone has photocopied these sheets of paper that said opening act canceled. Concert begins promptly at whatever, 7:30. Dang it. So I'd missed the first 45 minutes of the Mark Knopfler concert. This would have been 2001, maybe. The good news is he played for like 3 hours. So I saw plenty and it was a great show. But ouch. One takeaway I had from seeing Mark Knopfler in concert was he grabbed a Les Paul. And my hair stood up. That what? He can't grab a Les Paul. He's famous for playing Stratocasters and Strat style guitars. And I thought, what the heck? How Mark Knopfler? I saw him. Maybe a tech handed him the guitar. He's strapping it on, whatever. Like, oh my, what is this going to sound like? And can I tell you, he sounded exactly like Mark Knopfler. He didn't, to my ear. This is 20 years ago, but to my ear, it sounded the exact same. Whatever he had dialed in, it didn't sound different than a Stratocaster. I don't know. Now it's 20 something years later. Maybe now I'd have a little more refined ear, but I was vaguely disappointed. Like, okay, well, he's going to play a Les Paul. I don't know. I just figured he'd sound totally different, which of course, no, we sound like ourselves. But I'm sure he had his reasons for grabbing Les Paul, and that's awesome. But yeah. Okay. So my friends, let's talk for a minute about, I'm looking at my, let's talk about a little bit what I am practicing. Because I thought I'd share it with you guys. And like you guys, I never have as much time as I wish I had for practicing. In hindsight, I'm sure glad I practiced a whole lot when I was, 23 or 26. And I'm glad I took advantage of those times. So what am I practicing? I'm sharing this with you because, I don't know, that might be interesting. Okay, I got a couple of arpeggio books. This one You might have seen me talk about this one before. Melodic Arpeggios for Lead Guitar by Mark Galbo, Galbo. This is from, it's part of the music sales publishing company. Technically, it's AMSCO, AMSCO Publications. Here's the interesting thing. I knew I was going to mention this to you guys. I got it for $4 at a used bookstore. Never heard of it before, but thought, okay, I'll grab it. I believe it's on eBay for some crazy amount. I don't know, like $100 or something, which makes no sense. So here's my question. I don't really expect you guys to know the answer. How come some things out there on the internet, used copies like on eBay or maybe even Amazon, are like so crazily priced? It's almost like a typo. Like you can get a used copy for $10, a used copy for $11, and then a used copy for like $600. Why? Can anybody shed any light on that? So this book, Melodic Arpeggios by Mark Galbo. Last I checked, there was like a used copy out there for some insane amount of money, like $100 or something. I don't know. Okay. Another arpeggio book. I haven't been spending quite as much time on this one. J. Friedman, Fridman. This is from the Alfred Publishing Company. J. Friedman, I think it's just called Guitar Chords, Arpeggios, and Studies. Steps to Mastering the Fretboard. The reason I got this book is terrific Telecaster player from New York named Jim Campolongo. Putting his name in the chat. I was watching, I do this sometimes. I watch interviews with great guitar players on YouTube. As opposed to watching them play, which is great too, but I like the interviews, you know, I like hearing what they have to say. And I'm 99% sure Jim Campolongo mentioned this book as something that meant a lot to him when he was, you know, getting better and better at the guitar. So, I got to get a copy. I love that. If it's so rare that an experienced guitar player mentions anything very specific about how they made progress. I mean, really specific. I don't mean, yeah, man, I went out, you know, I spent a lot of time working on my leads. I mean, that's interesting. But when they mention a specific book, woohoo, I got to get that book, man. And if the book is still in print, well, that tells you something. Okay, now I like this one a lot. I've been working on this one a lot. Not a very racy title, Country Guitar. And this is from the Hal Leonard publisher. But it's part of the Musicians Institute, which some of you might have heard. This is out in Southern California. They have this school called the Musicians Institute. So it's sort of it is from one of their staff members, but Hal Leonard is the official publisher. The author is Al Bonham. And I know that's not how you say it, but I want to say it Bonham so you understand it when I spell it for you. B as in baseball, O-N, N as in Nancy. And then H-O-M-M as in Michael E. Bonham, Al Bonham. And I know I'm pronouncing it wrong. That's okay. But what a cool book. He covers some stuff that I'm familiar with and a bunch of stuff that I'm finding really fun. Doing some fancy stuff where you're playing, you know, stuff up like riffs on the neck, but every once in a while you include an open string, even though you're up at 7 and 8, but you include an open string. And it's such a cool effect. So he calls those open string cascades. Getting pedal steel sounds. And of course, chicken picking and hybrid picking. Just so much cool stuff in this book. Okay, speaking of, I haven't spent as much time. Okay, no, here's one. Greg Koch. Greg Koch always kicks my butt, and this is no exception. He has a bunch of books. This one's called Guitar Gumbo. Savory licks, tips, and quips for serious players. Greg Koch, K-O-C-H. And again, from Hal Leonard Publications. The only problem with Greg Koch is he's too good. Man, he's too good. So I take what I can from his books. And I don't beat myself up if I can't master the whole page or the whole riff all the way through. But I try to find, I always find stuff that pushes me a little bit. Like that book a lot. And then how about one more? How about this one? I like this one. You know, I've mentioned Dave Rubin before on this channel. Dave Rubin, Inside the Blues. Now, Dave Rubin has a million books, and they're all great. So definitely get yourself anything written by Dave Rubin. I like this book a lot because of all the history he throws in and the descriptive stuff. So it's not just riff after riff after riff. He talks about, because this is subtitled 4 Decades of the Greatest Electric Blues Guitarists. So inside the blues, 4 decades of the greatest electric blues guitarists, 1942 to 1982, written by Dave Rubin, published by Hal Leonard. So he'll talk about, a variety of well-known and maybe not so well-known guitar players, gives a whole bunch of background behind them, show, what about their playing style made them unique, full of great pictures. There's Albert King with a flying V guitar, I love this book. So back in the day, it was $25. And I don't want to know. I can't imagine what it is now. I'm sure it's more than $25. Anyways, so those are a bunch of the things that I'm practicing. You might notice it's a combination, and this is significant because this is where I'm coming from. A combination of technical skills. That first melodic arpeggios book, some technical stuff, meaning it's not song related. It does have a jazz orientation to it, but I'm treating it as a way to get my left hand warmed up faster, smarter. When I practice the arpeggios, I do down up picking with my picking hand, alternate picking, right? Same thing with the Greg Koch stuff. It's more technical stuff as opposed to things that I foresee myself using in a recording session or something like that, or a songwriting thing. Although never say never. And then you can see, like a lot of people, country and blues, there you go. There's your salt and pepper, to me, I consider that a balanced diet, spend some time doing some great country guitar, spend some time doing some great blues guitar. Oh, that's my idea of a great practice session. Okay. So I want to put that out there, you guys, just to give you a sense. And just like a lot of you guys, there's just never enough time to practice. There just isn't. Charlie Beagle is commenting on the Levon Helm shirt. Yeah, I forgot to bring this to your guys' attention. I realize there's a black background. I got a black hoodie and a black t-shirt. So I don't know to what extent I look like I'm floating here, but I did get a chance to go see Levon Helm at one of his rambles up there at his place in Woodstock, New York. This is a long time ago now, 2000. Let's see, my son was pretty much just born. So 2004, 5, 6, somewhere in there. And what a treat, man. What a treat. It's a great night. And I'm a big Levon Helm fan. So that's where my Levon Helm shirt comes from, the Levon Helm band. I'm so happy as a fan, as a music fan. I'm so happy that Levon Helm's final chapter of his life was just so incredibly positive. That he was recognized not just as a good drummer from a good band, but as just a great guy who was both respected and loved and was putting out great albums, in the last years of his career, great albums with great help from supportive musicians and producers. And I forget if he actually got Grammys. He might have got Grammys for his last couple albums. I bet he was nominated for sure. But it just seems that I'm really happy that for him personally, I mean, of all the people to end his career on a really high note, that's what it seemed like to me, that Levon Helm, he got his due. It wasn't like, oh yeah, there's that guy who used to be such and such. It's like, no, man, there's a guy who's putting out great music. Voice sounded great. Some of you know Levon Helm dealt with throat cancer and couldn't sing, and was, I believe he was told that he wasn't going to sing, and he found his voice again. I mean, he worked his way back, and it just makes me happy. And I wish the same for anybody who has devoted their lives to music, right? I wish the same thing for anybody. It doesn't always work out the way I'm glad it just makes me really happy that to me anyways, it seemed like Levon Helm ended his career on the highest note he could have ended on. And I love that so much. John is asking a great question. John is asking, what's the difference between scales and modes? Love it. Love the question. I love it so much that, speaking of throats, I'm going to turn down the volume, my friends. I'm going to take a drink of water, and I'll be right back with you. Please talk amongst yourselves, okay? And we're back. All right. No vitamin water this week. What is my story? So scales and modes. What I want you to think about, what I want to ask you rhetorically is, well, why do you care what the difference is? Meaning, what are you going to do with the scales and the modes once you have them? Believe me, I mean this in an encouraging way. Or what you're going to do with scales and modes, aside from just an awesome way to make your fingers fast, right? Just practice your scales. It makes your fingers fast. Do with down up picking with your right hand, makes your right hand fast. But scales and modes, as John, I'm sure you know, they give you the tools to play great solos, right? What are solos? Solos, improvised solos, up and down the neck of the guitar, sounding great. What's that person doing? Whatever they're doing is based on some kind of scale, realistically, most of the time. And that's another great reason to practice your scales. Then you become the person zipping up and down the neck, sounding amazing. Okay, so quick definition. A scale is simply a specific sequence of notes. And there's all kinds of scales, right? Major scales, you can't go wrong with major scales. But of course, it's blues scales. I'm always encouraging guys to buy a scale book. You get a scale book, and they're going to show you flavor after flavor after flavor of scales, minor scales, all sorts of exotic scales. So we all should be practicing our scales, if for nothing else, then awesome exercise for both your hands. Okay, so what is a mode? And then let's also talk about when you'd ever use a mode, right? And I see beginner guitar I'm putting in some good information here as well. Charlie Beagle, you're cracking me up here. By the way, to play cool solos, one of the things you need to know is which scale is the appropriate scale to use as the source of my soloing, and then you're good to go. The appropriate scale potentially could change moment by moment, or you could use one scale for the entire solo. That's the kind of way you want to start your soloing career, your improvising career, in a context where you can stick with one scale and do a bunch of cool stuff, and grow from there. Okay, so a mode is simply a scale starting on a different note, with a different tonal center. I've used that phrase before, and you'll hear me use it again. Tonal, T-O-N-A-L, center, tonal center. So specifically, a major scale, but you start the major scale on a different note. And I'll illustrate this in a second. There are lots of ways, by the way, to define modes. I 99.999% of the time define modes this exact way, meaning you take a major scale, and instead of starting on the first note, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, you start on any note other than the first note. You still go up 8 notes and back 8 notes, but you're not starting on do anymore. That's all. Those of you who have a piano handy, and you're a lucky person if you have a piano handy, a C major scale. You walk over to your piano, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, right? A C major scale. As long as you can find where C is on the piano, find some C somewhere, right? Right before the 2 black notes, right? Just to the left of the 2 black notes. You up and down. Now imagine that, we'll get to you guitar players in a second, although guitar players don't tune out because it's the same information either way. Imagine instead of going C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, imagine starting on D instead. D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. So instead of C to C, D to D. That's a mode. That's all. Imagine going from E to E. That's a mode. F to F. That's a mode. That's all. And while it sounds, hopefully that sounds pretty simple and doable, like, okay, whatever, the net effect is you've changed the tonal center. And that creates new stuff. So a C major scale on the guitar. And I'm going to strum a C chord to bring this home, right? So I call this brainwashing, for lack of a better term. But right now I've put your minds in the world of C. I'm strumming a C chord, and I'm playing a C major scale, right? So I've created a tonal center, the note C. You know, whether you call it low C, high C, I created a tonal center. Okay, you get the idea, right? If I then go from D to D, I'm including all the notes of a C scale. I'm just going from D. I'm leaving out the C. I'm going from D to D. I'm going to create a different effect. And when I'm done with that, I'm going to strum a chord at the end that's going to maintain that effect. Okay, D to D. I'm strumming a D minor scale. Officially, I played the D Dorian Mode. And I'm strumming that D minor chord again to brainwash you. Now you're hearing a new tonal center, right? Okay, so there's an example of a mode, right? Now, when would you ever use that? Like say you're playing a solo. When would you ever use a Dorian mode to play a solo? If the song is in a minor key. If the song is in the key of D minor and you want to play a solo, play the D Dorian mode. What is the D Dorian mode again? It's a C scale, C major scale, but with D mentally, psychologically, D is our tonal center. It doesn't mean you're not allowed to play a C, but that D is our tonal center. I do these little phrases, I keep coming back to that D. Again, I'm keeping that sound in your head. Okay, I do have a video on the Dorian Mode. And I'll put a link to that video in the description of this video. So I hope that helps with modes and scales. There's different mode for every degree of the scale. Just that I illustrated what happens if you treat the second note of the scale as your tonal center. There's a mode with the third degree as the focus. There's a mode with the fourth degree. They all these awesome Greek names: the Lydian mode, the Phrygian mode, the Aeolian mode. Technically, even the major scale. Anybody know what the name of the mode is? If you actually just play the major scale, someone put that in the chat. Who knows the name of that mode, which again is the same as the major scale? Anybody know the name of that? I mean, technically it's the first mode, but we all just call it the major scale. But what's the name of it? And maybe someone knows and can put it in the chat, or you can just Google it. Charlie Beagle took a great guess, but no. Okay, while you guys are thinking of the answer, Walter, I see your question. I'm going to get to that in a minute. Hey, my friends, now's a good time to let you know. Look at that. We got 37 viewers, 25 thumbs up. So if you wouldn't mind, those of you who have not already, given a thumbs up to our experience here today, I appreciate that. YouTube, A to Z me, best guess, Floridian. I like that. But it's a great guess. So let's get some of those thumbs ups going here, my friends. I appreciate. Hey, Christian, welcome. Live to Fly. Thank you, Live to Fly. I want to say a few more hellos here. Anybody I missed so far? Walter, I will get to your question for a minute. Dan, did you just buy that Gordon Lightfoot album? Like, did you just buy it, or did you get it back in the day? That deluxe anthology. You never know anymore. The price of vinyl is crazy now. Though if you adjust for inflation, which I love, it's my favorite thing to do on a financial, when I geek out financially. I love to see whatever price someone is quoting for whatever, The Beatles' first guitar, was $16. Then you adjust for inflation. You're like, wait a minute, I find it very interesting. Anybody? Okay, I'll tell you right now, the name of the mode when you just play it as a major scale, the Ionian mode, Ionian, Ionian, Ionian mode. So every time you've ever played a major scale, you are also playing the Ionian mode. Okay. Not every mode, by the way, is equally valuable in popular music. Modes get used in jazz a lot. But of all the modes out there, if you want to get really, geeky into the nerdy stuff about modes, the Ionian is very common because you have plenty of popular music written in minor keys. And the Ionian mode is a great way to solo on top of it. It's possible the melody of the minor key song is directly related to the Ionian mode. Totally possible. The other modes, some of them show up in popular music, like the Mixolydian is a good one. Mixolydian based on the 5th degree of the scale. But a lot of the modes don't show up in popular music. So I'm making a big deal about saying popular music. I feel so sorry for jazz fans. I consider jazz to be its own amazing art form, and popular music, almost everything else, rock, folk, country, bluegrass, Irish music, punk, reggae, music with harmonically, it's just not as sophisticated as jazz. And that's why the modes don't show up. It's too much. You go to hear a folk singer in a club, or you go to hear a reggae band or something like that. If they got too into mode-y kind of stuff, what would you say? You might like it, you might not like it, but you'd say, whoa, this is really jazzy. And that might be a good thing or bad thing, depending on what you're drinking or the mood you're in or whatever. But that would be, if they started playing stuff with a more, I would call them exotic modes, jazzy modes, that would be anyone's reaction. Oh, this music got jazzy all of a sudden. And then you decide if that's what you wanted to hear that night or not. Stephen Mannion is asking about my water. Yes, Poland Springs, right? Poland Springs from, I assume it came from Maine. I'd have to read the fine print. Good stuff. Can't go wrong with Poland Springs. Okay. Sue Larkin. Are you asking, Sue, about did the Grateful Dead use some modes? Yeah, I'm sure they did. Well, Jerry Garcia, let's talk about the Grateful Dead as an ensemble for a second, and then separately Jerry Garcia as a guitarist. On my list of things is to do a little go to school on Jerry Garcia's style, not because I want to play like him exactly, but because it's such a recognizable style. I'd like to walk in his footsteps for some of my practice time and just try to figure out where he's coming from. Jerry Garcia had big ears, and that's one of the best compliments I think anybody can say about another musician. Jerry Garcia, I think he could what am I trying to say? He was ambitious as a musician, and a lot of things sounded good to him, and so he played it. And for some of us, as soon as we get out of our little box, we think, oh, I can't play that note, I can't play that note, and our performing our compositions, our improvising can suffer because of that, right? At least in my opinion. So I'm sure Jerry Garcia used modes in his soloing for sure. In terms of Grateful Dead songs, yeah. I mean, any group that puts out so much interesting music, I'm sure there's examples of Grateful Dead songs where someone who studies composition can say, oh, at this moment, the chord changes suggest a modal, blah, 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 blah. And so I won't reveal all of my ignorance too quickly. I want to keep some of my ignorance for myself. But yeah, I can imagine the Grateful Dead, the sheer number of compositions that, that they've recorded. I know it sounds so technical. The Grateful Dead compositions, their songs, man. Their songs can get pretty modal, man. Yeah. Stephen is asking, is this a different guitar this week? Maybe you guys have not seen this one too much. I saw a guitar that was gifted to me a long time ago. My boss, where I used to work, he knew I was down in the subways playing my Martin guitar. And since he had sold me the Martin guitar and was probably slightly concerned, no, was it that or was it open mic nights? Or maybe both. I was going around the city playing at open mic nights as a young guy, you know, below zero weather, taking the L in Chicago, or throwing in the back of someone's car, getting a ride home at 2 a.m. And I'm sure I expressed to him, I probably should be doing this with my nice Martin guitar. And he made this beautiful Harmony Sovereign just appear out of thin air, and I'm grateful for it. It's a big one. It's, you know, a lot of times people say, oh, dreadnought guitars, D-size guitars are as big as they get. Nay, nay. This is even bigger. This is massive. It's like a dreadnought on steroids. The Harmony guitar name, ooh, does anybody know? The Harmony guitar name has been passed around for decades. At the moment, though, hopefully Harmony has found its final home under the auspices of which guitar company? There's another guitar company out there that owns the Harmony name, is making new Harmony guitars, maybe even made in the US. Did I hear that correctly? I'm not sure. Okay, everybody, who owns Harmony guitars? Google it. Who owns Harmony guitars? I'll tell you the answer in a minute. So my buddy, I'm sure he did some work on this, but he made a completely new bridge. He had a nice big dark brown bridge right there. That was made from scratch because the guitar needed it. He put on a new pickguard. And by some miracle, the tuning machines back here are still the original tuning machines, which I can't believe, because this is an old guitar. So I can't believe the tuners, sooner or later, those are going to go, I know. So yeah, very cool guitar. Anybody? The Harmony Guitar Company, the name is now owned by, also begins with H, the Heritage Guitar Company. And Heritage, what a cool company. I wouldn't mind getting a Heritage guitar someday. Heritage Guitars out of Kalamazoo, Michigan. When Gibson moved out of Michigan down to Nashville, many of the employees said, we do not want to leave Michigan for Nashville. We're going to stay right here in Michigan, and we're going to keep making guitars. And that is how the Heritage Guitar Company was born. And I've only played a couple of Heritage guitars in my life, but they were very cool, and I love the story. So Heritage Guitars now owns Harmony Guitars. So you may see more brand new Harmony guitars popping up here and there. And but in general, the Harmony name has been all over the place. So I can't tell you Harmony guitars are good or bad or otherwise, because it really depends on what year or decade you're talking about. When I was in Maine at Gary's Guitars, I'm still thinking about it. They had a little brother to this guitar. Same everything, just smaller, you know, the Harmony Sovereign. And it was so cool. And it was inexpensive enough. You know, nothing's cheap, right? Nothing's cheap. Unless it's free, it's not cheap. But it was inexpensive enough that I had to stop and think about it for a minute, you know. Live to Fly is pointing out that Jerry Garcia used the Mixolydian mode at times in Grateful Dead songs when he played solos. Oh yeah, I'm sure he did. Yep, I'm sure you're right. Charlie Beagle, favorite Chicago hot dog joint? You're asking. I was a pizza guy. So Carmen's Pizza. I ate a lot of Carmen's Pizza, man. I'll tell you a quick story. It's gonna make me starving as I tell you the story. I finished my freshman year of college and decided to stick around in Chicago for the summer. And I came across, I went in every July in Chicago was a big outdoor festival called the Taste of Chicago, or Taste of E. coli, as someone put it once, where, among other things, all these restaurants set up booths or trucks or whatever, and you eat lots of food. Taste of Chicago. And I would go down to the Taste of Chicago every day and play the guitar with my case open and make money and play for the folks at the Taste of Chicago. And this is the summer of '88. And Carmen's Pizza was providing these coupons for the people visiting Taste of Chicago, many of whom, you know, lived outside the Chicago area. And the coupons were 50% off. 50% off. Oh man, I grabbed dozens of these coupons, and I forget how long. I mean, they didn't expire for weeks, if not months, or maybe they never expired. I don't know. I ate like they did expire. I ate so much Carmen's pizza that summer, half price. Are you kidding me? Oh man. So yeah, I'm a pizza guy, and I ate a lot of Carmen's pizza. And if you would ask me to name another pizza place in Chicago, I haven't been back for a long time. I moved away from Chicago in 2002. I know there's other pizza places in Chicago. In fact, I think Carmen's Pizza might not even be there anymore. Yeah, but I'm blanking out on any other name of any. I mean, there's Pizzeria Uno. I guess that counts. I don't know if that they officially are like born and raised in Chicago. It's Chicago style pizza. Anyways, okay, we'll get back to the guitar. Oh, Lou Malnati. That's right. That rings a bell. Yeah. I must have eaten there. Hey, Susan, welcome. Scott Rhodes has a Heritage guitar. Very cool. Dan, you think Heritage is owned by even a bigger parent company? I did not know that. You may be right, but I have not personally heard that. I kind of hope not, because Heritage is such a cool company. Although I don't know what Band Lab is, so I don't know. But thanks for the input. Okay, my friends, I'm scrolling a little bit. We have about 20 minutes left in our live stream here. Hey, a couple of things, housekeeping things. Number one, I want to say thank you. I always want to say thank you to you guys for being here. Thank you for giving me a job. And you are. That's how I think of it. You're giving me a job. And I enjoy our Saturday time together. Please tell a friend, okay? I mean, we got 40 people, give or take at the moment, and that's great. And then hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people watch this. In fact, hello to all you folks who are watching this after the live stream. But I really appreciate you guys being here. This is a lot of fun. I appreciate the questions. I always want to say hi to my mom and dad. Hi, Mom and Dad. They are frequent viewers here. In fact, a lot of you guys have been here since practically day one, right? 17 live streams ago. So thank you for you long-term, but thank you for you new folks for being here too. Hey, tell a friend, because I have the goal, remember, of having 100 simultaneous viewers. Over the course of these 2 hours, we'll get well over 100 viewers who come and go, and I love that. That's great. But I have this goal, just bear with me, of having 100 simultaneous viewers. I don't know, why not? Just seems like a fun thing. And so we have 41 at the moment, but those of 41, I'd like to see some more thumbs up. That does my heart good. It doesn't change the world, but it makes me feel good to see an equal number of viewers and thumbs ups. So I appreciate that. Okay, yeah, Dan. Thank you, Dan. Dan is asking about dealing with injuries, but I'm not going to give you the exact answer you're looking for, because you're probably, being human, you probably want to know, how do you get well? How do you avoid injuries and that stuff? That is above my pay grade. Although in general, I'm always going to encourage you guys to, especially with your fretting hand, before you sit down to practice, give it a massage, push your fingers together, gently, always gently, stretch your arm out, rotate. See, I'm rotating my wrist. I'm making circles with my fingertips. I'm extending my left arm as far as it'll go, and I'm rotating. Anything, get that blood flowing. And someday I'll do my research and I'll share it with you about a more, anatomically beneficial stretching program. But so let's talk about injuries for a second. Because it ties in with the ear training app, which I want to talk to you guys about. Okay. Long story short, if you can't play your guitar because you're cutting a bagel and you got, your index finger, whatever's going on, or you just practice so much and your wrist is sore, then you definitely want to take a break from practicing, right? Now is time to dig into music theory. I know it's not the answer you all wanted. I know, but music theory and ear training, you won't regret it. You really won't, And in both cases, there's an app for that, but you won't regret it. You know, I mean, you want to keep your musical progress going, right? If you're out of commission, here's how you do it. And of course, this would also apply. You're stuck in an airport. You're someplace without your guitar. Now, I'm kind of crazy this way because I wake up in the morning and there's that little voice in my head that really wants me to be a better musician by the end of the day. And that's a little bit crazy. I know. But hey, it's my voice inside my head. So what are you going to do? You know, it's not going to change. It's been there for a long time. It's not going away. Okay, so in terms of, say, ear training, right? And again, I know you're thinking, wait, I thought we were going to talk about, dealing with injuries. See how I'm spinning this? I'm like, I can't do anything about your injuries. I'm not a doctor, but I can tell you what I would do and what I recommend. So bear with me, folks. I got my app here in front of me. Okay, I currently have in front of me an app, a free app on my Android phone called Perfect Ear. And there's other ones out there. I've just been using this one. I like it. My goal is to use it every day. I'll let you know when that actually happens. But see, back, when I was younger, I took the train back and forth to work and just sitting on the train. I can see myself putting a little earphone and doing this like on the train. That'd be great. I guess I could do it in the car too now. I don't know. Seems kind of risky. Okay. Anyways, training your ear to differentiate between sounds. I'm not talking about a tuba versus a trombone. I'm talking about, jumping up from a root note to the 3rd degree of the scale, root note to the 5th degree of the scale, root note to the 2nd degree of the scale, things like that. This particular app, by the way, I'm not affiliated with this app at all. No one's sending me any money. I use it myself, so I thought I would share it with you guys. But there's plenty of ear training apps out there. This particular one has rhythm training. It does have a theory section, which I have not checked out yet. Ooh, that could be very cool. Ear training, rhythm training, drills, and theory. I'm sure it has stuff that they want you to pay for, and that is their right. Good for them. I've just been using the free version. So Perfect Ear is the name of the app. If you guys have already used ear training apps, or if you use them and you want to recommend them to the rest of us, I think that's great. But when you are out of commission for whatever reason, an ear training app, I recommend it so highly. Becoming a better listener 100% makes you a better guitar player for sure. Even though, yes, it doesn't directly make your fingers faster. I'll tell you what, though, you recognize sounds faster and music makes more sense. If you play the 4th note of a scale during a major chord, you begin to recognize what you just did. And maybe instead of thinking of it as a mistake, I'm playing an F note during a C major chord. Instead of thinking of it as a mistake, you recognize it. Like, oh, there's that perfectly interesting note and it has value. And I can resolve that F down to an E. And the E is a chord tone. E is part of a C major scale, part of a C major chord and part of a C major scale. I can resolve that F down to that E and life is good. Or I can keep banging that F for the sheer joy of playing a note that is not a chord tone. But my point is, having the better your ear is, the quicker you recognize sounds in real time. I mean, you might be improvising with a band and you hit a certain note, and previously you might have said, "Oh, that's a wrong note." In the future, your ear might tell you, "Oh, I know what that note is. It's not right or wrong. It is what it is, and I'm going to choose what to do next." Who said this great quote? Miles Davis. The next note you play determines whether the thing you just played was right or wrong. Do you resolve it? What do you do with it? That's the listener's experience is 100% shaped by the next note you play. I love that. Hey, Chaz, thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate that. Folks, when you, Chaz, your first time here, awesome. Welcome. I appreciate the super chat. When you guys do a super chat, you might see this on your screen as well. I get a big colorful box that pops onto my screen, and I'm grateful. Thank you. So Chaz, we do this every Saturday. Sounds like you've been watching the recorded ones, and so yeah. So Chaz, you're welcome, and thank you. Okay. Susan says music theory is fun. Seriously, yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's just lifting up the hood, and you lift up the hood and you see what's kind of been going on the whole time, and you maybe kind of knew it was going on, but then you're seeing it like, oh, that's why that sounds that way. And you guys, I'm going to say this till I'm blue in the face, and I say it because I mean it. And also because personally, I think it's an encouraging thing for you guys to hear. But 99% of me just truly means it, and 1% is saying it because I want you guys to, to feel good. Here's what I'm going to say: as an adult, you have a huge advantage pursuing a musical instrument because you've heard music your whole life, and when you do a certain riff on the guitar or play a certain scale or really do anything, it's really possible that sooner or later it's going to connect with something you've heard your whole life. 6-year-olds don't have that. 12-year-olds don't have that. And I know we all wish we started at a very young age with an amazing teacher, an amazing instrument. Don't underestimate the lifetime of music that you've heard. That is so hugely beneficial. And I see it all the time. I teach a lot of adult students. Someone asked me once, how my student load breaks down. I have approximately 40 students. I always mean to count. I teach 6 days a week. And I definitely have 7 or 8 students on the books any given day. I mean, sometimes someone is away for vacation, but let's say 40 for a nice round number. Teach 40 students a week. Could it be that half are, say, 40 and over, and half are like 20 and under? It's funny, there's like a gap. I don't have a whole lot of 26-year-olds, Yeah, maybe half and half. Okay, so I can't tell you how often an adult student will recognize something so quickly. I don't mean like I play Hotel California. They say, oh, that's Hotel California. I mean, I'll show them something, that's not literally a song, but they'll connect it with a song, or they'll connect it with some riff they've heard or whatever. Happens all the time. So you get what I'm saying. You guys have a huge advantage because of all the listening you've done. Okay, so just to wrap up, music theory explains the stuff you've heard your whole life. It just gives it a name and a value. And ear training, you could say, is the same thing. When you, just to tie it together, should I do this with a capo? Sure, I'll do it with a capo since the original song was done with a capo. So combining ear training with music theory. What I'm doing right here, there we go, a little bit better. I'm playing it, I've got the capo on the 3rd fret because that's how this song is capoed up. And I'm fretting a D major chord. And I'm changing the D major chord to something else. So ear training over time, and maybe not even that much time, teaches you, oh yeah, wait a minute, that's a major chord going to the same major chord, but a suspended version of that major chord. A D major to D suspended. Music theory teaches you, oh yeah, I'm taking a major chord and I'm substituting the 4th degree of the relevant scale. I'm playing that instead of the 3rd degree of the relevant scale. That's the music theory part, right? And your lifetime of musical listening tells you, hey, wait a minute, that's good old free falling, right? Yeah. Okay, so it's kind of fun to take something and pick it apart. what is Tom Petty doing? Okay, he's got a capo, he's got a D. Okay, he's got that. What am I hearing? What is the name of what I'm hearing? You know, I don't know. You get what I'm saying, right? Okay. So I just connected two things that I was hoping to talk about tonight. Let me see if I can not make a mess here. I'm looking at my agenda here, my friends. I just connected two of the things, which is ear training apps. I want to show you that app. And believe me, I want to talk more about that app and ear training apps in general in the future. Ear training apps and dealing with the fact that you are injured, incapacitated, and somehow cannot play the guitar the way you want to play the guitar. How do you become a better musician? And so thanks for letting me talk about those things. And I'll say it one more time. Improving your music theory knowledge and improving your ear. Number one, that is becoming a better musician. And number two, it deepens your relationship with capital M music, right? It sinks deeper into your brain, you know? Music has more value, you know? Music has tons of value anyways, right? How could it have more value? Well, I would propose to you that, you could always deepen that connection, deepen those relationships that you have with songs, bands, composers, all of the above. Okay. I am scrolling here, my friends. But Dan, I'm sorry that something's going on with your shoulder, and I wish I could more directly help you. It's something that concerns me, both as a music teacher and also as someone who hopes to be playing music, you know, till they start, you know, shoveling the dirt on top of me. So my plan, when I'm in the retirement home, slide guitar, but especially, you know, lap-based slide guitar, where I know you can't see too well, but you know, you're not doing that very unnatural thing where you have to reach around and your wrist gets weird and you're playing the guitar that way. You lay the guitar flat in your lap. You know, either a regular 6-string guitar or like a lap steel guitar, a dobro, a square neck dobro. Much more natural position, just that I was holding the slide, you know, much more natural position. I'm just coming down on top of the instrument. Anyways, that's my hope. You know, I'll wake up in the morning in the nursing home and just start rocking out lap style. That's my plan, folks. Okay. Scrolling. Franklin's Tower. I see some Grateful Dead. Come on in here. Okay, Willie, I see your question. Let me just see if I'm missing any previous questions. Yeah, Walter, don't beat yourself up over bar chords. I'm of two minds, and I'll say what I always say. Yes, we should all master bar chords. Yep, that's a good productive use of your time. It's but do not do not spend too much of your practice time on bar chords, unless someone's paying you to play a bunch of bar chord songs in the very near future. There's so many other really important, really fun, often easier things to play, but equally important. There's so much stuff that you do not want to spend too much of your practice time on bar chords, and you don't want to judge your overall progress on the guitar by your progress on bar chords. Don't do it. It's a trap. Don't do it. Okay. Okay. So I'm looking at your question, Willie. Where to go? Okay. Yeah, Willie is asking, do I have any advice for composing with different style instruments? For example, acoustic versus electric guitar. Yeah. I've even heard songwriters talking about just different acoustic guitars having different songs in them, you know. And I know that sounds a little, you know, new agey. But no, I get that. I get that in the sense that if someone hands me a small like a little 00 size guitar. I'm not going to start strumming big chords on it. That's not what that guitar is made for. I'm going to start doing some nice little finger picking. Well, if I'm in the mood to write a song, it's going to end up being a nice little finger picking song. So there's an example. So advice, yeah, it's a great question. I'm stalling. This is what I look like when I'm stalling, because I want to sound smart for once. I know, why start now, right? I know. I heard you say that. I heard you. Why start now? Yeah, you're funny. You're funny. Well, my immediate reaction is, electric guitars. I'm going to say something provocative here. Electric guitars don't sound good when you play G, D, and A minor. They don't. That's not what they do best. Electric guitars sound best with single note kind of stuff, or shuffle patterns. And acoustic guitars sound best with those big, right? So now I realize, I know I'm being provocative here, but so my advice, if you grab an electric guitar, get away from those chords, those A minors and C's and stuff, and write a song that's based on something other than the typical chords. Now, and that assumes that you have some things that do sound great on electric guitar, power chords, right? Right, power chords up and down the neck. Ooh, my favorite thing for electric guitar. I can't believe I could go a whole live stream and not mention the 1 finger major chord, right? Good old Brown Sugar, right? Keith Richards. I was just talking about this with someone the other day. Mick Jagger had the sense to not sing over that very cool guitar part. You ever notice that in Brown Sugar? There's the part where Mick Jagger's singing, right? Which is great. It's fine. It's a cool tune. But then there's that cool riff from Keith Richards with no vocal, because, dude, you don't sing over that. It's such a great rock and roll riff. It's great. So electric guitar composing. Yeah, man. Take that 1 finger A chord. Got to be 1 finger. Here's why. You want the other 3 fingers available for adding in extra stuff, the way Keith Richards just did. So I'm barring at the second fret, and I am squeezing 4 treble strings, but my pick is focusing on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. Take that 1 finger chord, major chord, move it all up and down the neck. Your pick is always going to focus on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. If you're nervous about that, you could use your thumb and your 2 index and middle fingers. Up and down the neck with that 1 finger major chord. And then if you're motivated, experiment with adding in different other single notes on those same strings. So I'm still talking about the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. Where are we here? My bar is at 8. So it's a 1 finger major chord at the 8th fret. But my ring finger is reaching in. Let's call that a modification. My ring finger is reaching in to modify that chord. 10th fret, 3rd string, 3rd skinny string, G string. You hear that little melody? La, da, da, da. So there's a way to compose that. It sounds great on electric guitar. Okay, an acoustic guitar, my instinct is, what does acoustic guitar do best? It's those big open position cowboy chords, or chords that have a bunch of open strings. Here's something that totally possible. I've mentioned this before. In fact, I know I have, but I can't stop myself. Take your E major chord and start moving it to new places on the neck. Keep the formation the same. You got to monitor your formation. You can't let your fingers change their relationship to each other, But As you move the E formation up the neck, don't hit the 6th string anymore, but do experiment with hitting the open 1st and 2nd strings. You're going to get some very cool chords. I've definitely written a song that it's not done yet because heaven forbid I finish anything. But it's the whole song is based on that E major grip sliding around in different places. I mean, I love that sound. I love that sound of getting at least a few open strings in the mix and having those open strings be a little bit, not dissonant. I would, not dissonant, but have those open strings, at least one of them be a note that's not a chord tone. It's adding something new to the chord. Oh, I love that so much. Okay, so there's an idea in terms of writing differently when you have an acoustic guitar in your hands versus an electric guitar. Those are my first thoughts. Now, could you reverse that to be more creative? Oh yeah, and you always do the opposite. I mean, if you want to be a creative person, do things one way, and then always do it the opposite. So, despite what I said first, yeah, take your electric guitar and write a song. We just strum E minor for 16 beats, just an old-fashioned E minor chord electric guitar, and then write a punky rock and roll song on acoustic guitar using power chords. Yeah, why not, man? So yeah, do what I say, and then always do the exact opposite of what I say. Not bad advice, Oh, Willie, you got a 12 string. Excellent, beautiful, beautiful. Just remember on that 12 string, just monitor it. Make sure, especially if it's an acoustic 12 string, just keep your eye on the bridge. If it's an acoustic 12 string, keep your eye on the bridge. Make sure it's not lifting off. If you can take a business card or a piece of paper and sneak it into a gap in between the bridge and the face of the guitar, the top of the guitar, that gap is enough of a warning sign that you want to bring it to a pro at a guitar tech and have them get some glue down on there. 12, obviously, there's nothing like the sound of a 12-string guitar. It's a beautiful thing. There's just a ton of pressure, a ton of stress on the instrument. It's worth it. It's worth it. But it just means you have to monitor it. They're sensitive. They're super sensitive. So, my friends, what do we got here? It's just about the top of the hour here. And I am going to say goodnight in a moment. Goodbyes are always so hard. But I'm scrolling up to make sure I didn't miss any questions. I want to thank our moderator, Beginner Guitar, for being here. I want to thank the super chatters for being super chatters. Don't forget that Sweetwater link. Should you be shopping at Sweetwater anyways, go ahead and put that link. I mean, do it via that link. I wonder. Oh, I did. I still had it saved. Okay, so there's that link again for those of you who missed it earlier. If you shop at Sweetwater anyways, click on that link. You will still get the same great prices and great service, but Sweetwater will kick back a little bit of their profit to support what we're doing right here, basically, and I want to thank Sweetwater for that too. Hey, Joseph, thank you for being here, Joseph. I hope you have a good night. Okay, everybody, I think that'll about do it. Okay, till next time, right? We are coming up on our 20th live stream, and I haven't had the time to really sit and give it a good think, but we got to do something fun for the 20th live stream. We'll come up with something, and I'm open to suggestions. So why not? I'm open to that. But 20 just seems like a good time for us to all, do some fist bumps, and we'll figure out what's happening. Hey, Christian, thank you for being here. I'm going to say a few good nights. Kaylin, thank you for being here. Good night. Who else? Scott, thanks for being here. Live to Fly. Stephen, Charlie. I know I'm not going to get to everybody, but thank you for being here, everybody. Okay, so that's going to do it. I'll be watching the Dallas Cowboys tomorrow, looking for another touchdown from number 86, tight end Luke Schoonmaker. And oh, I didn't do the part. We'll get to the dumb question next week. We did this before, and you guys come up with some great questions. Don't hold your questions now, but I'll remember to do that next week. The time where you ask me the dumbest question that's been bugging you. Okay, my friends, I'm going to say goodnight. I don't even know what's for dinner yet, but I'm excited about it, whatever it's going to be. I know it's for dessert, and that's the important thing. Hey, music fan. See you soon, music fan. Okay, you guys. So be well, play your guitar, spend some time with your family, and I will see you guys same time next Saturday. All right, take care, everybody.